UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Good morning and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. Welcome back from sports. It is now Good Morning Uganda Extra, an extension of Good Morning Uganda. In case you've just joined, I'm Robert Chirabo-Nyonyitono, but we are always here from 6:30. That is when we start our show, Good Morning Uganda, with so much interesting segments there, some moment of laughter, some moment of jokes here and there, but yet very informative. We make sure we update you about what is happening locally and internationally. Then we have our newsreel. You can't afford to miss great views and opinions, and yet very good analysis coming in from the panel that we have. Then the guest setting, not forgetting the sports lovers. There's always a sports segment for you, so do not miss. We look at what is happening in the press, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, all. So it's a fully packaged show that you can't afford to miss. Make it a date with us every weekday from 6:30. Then we come into Extra, which is an extension. This morning, today I'm going to be doing agriculture. Yes, we always say our backbone is agriculture, and there are certain things that we focus on. Cash crops, traditional animals grown here. We rear cows, cats, but cows, goats, a bit of sheep also. But now I want to look at something that is picking up day by day. That is beekeeping or apiculture. And I'm not alone to discuss this. I'm with the Executive Director, the Uganda National Apiculture Development Organization, who happens to be, that is Dixon Biriomu Maisho. Hope I've gotten it. You're most welcome to the show. You know, there is a name that disturbs me, and I'm very sensitive when it comes to pronunciation of people's names, but I hope I've gotten it right.
Yes.
Welcome. I'm happy to have you on set this morning.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning to all the viewers of UBC. And I'm very happy to be here. As you mentioned, my name is Biriomu Dixon, and I work with the Uganda National Apiculture Development Organization. It's a national organization that actually brings together all stakeholders, the beekeepers, the honey processors, the packers, the equipment makers, all over the country. So this organization brings them together so that we deliberate on beekeeping issues. Yeah.
One would ask a quick one on that when talk about beekeeping, is it really something, as our president day by day is talking about commercial agriculture, is beekeeping something really that can eradicate poverty? Is it something that someone can seriously invest in and reap meaningfully? Let's begin at that.
Actually, beekeeping, most people, when we talk about beekeeping, they want to think about honey. They will think about honey or something like that. But before I actually go deep into beekeeping, whether profitable or not, I want to inform everyone, if you are involved in agriculture, including those actually involved in cattle keeping, you need bees. Why? Bees play one big important role that nobody else can play, which is pollination. All the food that we eat, they are pollinated by the bees. Look at coffee. Uganda will be proud that maybe in agriculture, coffee is one of the biggest crop bringing in money. But without the bees, you're not going to increase the productivity. So without the bees, you're not going to produce the food that we eat. So that is something that we need to be aware of, and it is the biggest reason that we need to keep bees. In fact, bees contribute 60% productivity. You can increase your productivity of crops by 60% when you integrate bees in your production systems. And that is what we are missing most. And as we go on, I will talk more about it. But now let me answer your question of whether beekeeping is profitable or not. Beekeeping is, as far as I'm concerned, it is one of the most profitable enterprise where you almost invest nothing, but reap big. For example, someone can make a pot and make it a hive. You can weave and make a hive yourself. So you'll find that to make a hive, maybe you're investing something like 10,000 or even less. But that hive, you are sure it is going to give you possibly 10 kilograms. With 10 kilograms, you're sure you're going to get between 6,000 and 10,000, depending on where you are. And just imagine that one season you're getting already 100,000 out of 10,000. I don't know what that gross margin even is, if for those who have studied the economics. So yes, it is a very, very profitable venture, and it can be practiced anywhere in the country. And the most important thing also is that you do not need land, a lot of land. You see, if you want to invest in all other agricultural production systems, you'll find you need land. But for beekeeping, a 3 by 3 meters is enough land already. What is important is in the area where we're going to put your bees, are there forage? Are there trees? Are there plants? And again, for beekeeping, the beauty is that nobody is going to come to you and say, your bees are in my crops. No, nobody is going to say that. Like if you have animals and animals go to somebody's garden, somebody will be complaining. But for bees, if they go to somebody's garden, somebody will be clapping hands and saying, how I wish more can come. So that means that you are not there to feed the bees like the way we do for all other animals. Bees feed themselves and bring you honey, and when you remove H and put M, you make money. So that is what makes beekeeping more profitable, that you do not need a lot of money to start, you do not need land. But also, for example, for youth, women, for PWDs, who sometimes their economic situation is low, and makes it very hard for them to get involved in other agricultural production systems. It is now possible for them to start beekeeping. First of all, it is quick to generate income. Within 6 months, maximum of 6 months, you will start earning from beekeeping, start getting cash. Number two, you are sure of 2 seasons. Uganda will have 2 growing seasons, so as 2 harvesting seasons for beekeeping. So you get money out of that. Besides, there are other products like propolis, which keep coming all the time, that you keep tapping and getting that propolis. Propolis is also another bee product, by the way, and it is highly medicinal. If you look at research that has been done, it's good for pharmaceutical and cosmetic because of its antifungal, antibacterial properties. And so it's a nice product and one of the most expensive products actually when we talk about bee products. So that one you can harvest continuously. So that means you can earn. You don't need to wait for honey harvesting season. But also, usually when people harvest honey, for example, it comes in a honeycomb and people always throw away the combs after squeezing the honey out. But this time around, we have developed technology for harvesting that honeycomb and turning it into what we call beeswax. Beeswax is also one of the most expensive bee products, and it's highly used in pharmaceutical and cosmetic, and it is very marketable. In fact, what is surprising is that even in Europe, you know, Europe has the biggest, like a barrack of standards that they want if you want to export there. But because they know of the quality of our beeswax, and they don't have a lot of conditionalities that they normally put on other agricultural export commodities. So with beeswax, you can easily export it, even with a few with small quantities, as low as 10 tons, they will allow you to export, because they want it, the demand is big, and we can't produce to actually satisfy that market. And recently we have other products like bee venom, for example. Usually when the bee stings you, in fact, when the bee stings you, you get immunity for no good reason. So some of us, that's why we don't fall sick. We go and get a few stings and we are okay. it boosts our immune.
How does that thing really, if the way it itches and the way you struggle to have it out, because it could be a danger, then how does it bring immunity?
You see, what happens is, there is a sting, there is also a bee venom. So usually people confuse sting and bee venom. So when the bee stings you, it puts a sting, and that is always what causes issues a lot. That's why we pack it. You pack it when it stings you, pack it out. And then there is water-like, and that is what we call bee venom. So what we have done was to develop a technology that allows us to harvest the bee venom from the bee, and then we leave the bee with the sting. Because remember, when a bee stings you, it also dies.
Yes.
So that is the worst case scenario you would want for your bee. So we have developed that technology, and even after 2 weeks, somebody can go and harvest that bee venom, and the market is just huge. We can't also satisfy. But also we have pollen. You know, when the bees go to visit flowers, they pick pollen.
Yes.
So as they pick that pollen, we tap it, and that pollen is also highly nutritious, very nutritious. And also we have gotten royal jelly for people who don't want to age. You know, all bees, all worker bees and drone bees, they die within 42 days. But a queen bee can stay for more than 3 years. Why? Because she's fed on royal jelly. So royal jelly has anti-aging properties. So for those who want to really not to age, to look younger like me all the time, then we have a solution for you because we have royal jelly. So those are products all coming from the bees. And in fact, people only know honey, and yet honey is the basic product and yet the cheapest product among the bee products. So we have many bee products that one can harness and get money from. And the demand is there. So that's why it becomes a profitable venture. Even then, you should know that bee products do not go bad. Like the way, just imagine you have 100 liters of milk and there is no buyer today. You will be suffering, calling everybody. With bee products, we don't need to call anybody. We can keep it for ages and ages.
So honey doesn't expire?
No.
It never goes bad?
No. Provided you have harvested mature honey, whose moisture content is below 20, then you are sure if you keep it clean, whether in a pot, whether in a jar, whether in a glass jar, you can have that honey for ages.
Wow, that is another new thing. I've just come to learn that bee products don't expire unless they are contaminated.
Yeah.
Now, going to one of the things you've mentioned is that bees can be kept anywhere. I don't think you meant now a region, that Uganda, no region, but you even talked about space. Traditionally, I know people that have beehives in forests. These are people who have huge chunks of land and they're isolating them from the public and would know, don't visit so and so, don't go to this wetland. Some would put them in wetlands. That's where I find beehives, and you seem to be making it a business that someone even with small piece of land can engage in.
Yeah, you see, there is always a misconception. If you go back to your elementary science, bees are called social insects. And the reason they are social insects, they are actually, you can say, they are insects without any problem. These are insects which move together. Even actually here where we are, they are bees. If you want me to prove it to you, if I poured honey here, bees would come. But they don't sting everybody. Every time that you are going, they are stinging you. No, bees are everywhere. They only sting you because you are going to rob them. You want to have their honey. You want to have their products. And once you approach their hive, that is when they defend themselves. And actually, they also don't like it because they know they are going to die. You can't know that you're going to die if you sting, and you go ahead and sting. But it's the last resort. So usually, foraging bees, or the bees which have gone out to look for food, they don't sting. They are harmless. So that is the advantage. So that's why nowadays we have developed the technology that you have a bee suit. Nowadays we give you a bee suit. It's a complete bee suit with a very overall, you have your gumboots and you have your gloves, and there is a smoker. So we developed a smoker. So you put in dry matter, like grass, and introduce in the fire, and when you puff, it brings some smoke. So that makes it easier that now you can approach the bees without fear to work with them. And you can do it during the day. Because during that time, it was an aggressive way of harvesting honey. Somebody would go with fire to burn the hive. Or would get the hive, and if it is a pot, they just throw it down, so the bees start what? Running. And the bees would also be, they become agitated and a bit dangerous at that point. But now with the technology that we have developed, with the bee suit, with the smoker, and now having your beehives put at breast height, it is possible to deal with these bees without any sting and during the day. And we have trained many people, and we continue to train many people so that they do that. So that's why nowadays having a big chunk of land for beekeeping is not a deal. You only need your neighbors with big chunk of land, and then you bring in your apiary and deal with it with the capacity that we can give you. We can build your capacity on how to deal with it. So you don't need a lot of land, but you need shade ultimately. That's why beekeeping is one of the good tool for conservation, because you do not have a bee without shade. Bees like shade. They don't want a lot of sunshine. If it is too hot, the bees will concentrate in the hive, making the temperatures to remain at 36 degrees Celsius. In fact, inside the hive, the temperatures remain at 36 degrees Celsius. So when it is too cold, that's why it is not good to put them in a wetland again, where it can be too cold. If it is too cold, the bees again concentrate on making ideal temperatures in the hive, which is also 36 degrees Celsius. So that means you need to give them some level of shade during dry season. And if it is rainy season, that's why you have to go and slash and cut a little bit so that sunlight can still pass and they have some level of warmth. So you don't need to if you have a forest, well and good. But if you don't have a forest, don't fail to keep bees. Provided they are neighbors with coffee, they are neighbors with cashew nuts, they are neighbors with macadamia, they are neighbors with avocado, they are neighbors with citrus fruits, they are neighbors with simsim, they are neighbors with sunflower, they are neighbors with beans, they are neighbors with banana. Mention anything you want to talk about, any plant in this country. You are in business with bees. Whether cassava, whether what, you are in business with bees. So that's why somebody outside there watching today, don't fail to make money out of beekeeping because you want to give reason that you don't have land. You only need small land to make money out of beekeeping. And here we are talking about the beekeeping. I've even not talked about the value chain. I haven't yet tried to look there. But I'm still talking about the actual keeping of the bees. So you do not need a lot of land. You only need small expertise, which we do give actually.
Okay, now you've talked about you don't need a very big piece of land, but how safe is it to keep these bees within communities? Sometime I visited someone in Chiengera, and within his compound I would see beehives. And I was like, how safe is it? You're in a community, you have neighborhood, there are people around you. Yes, this is your fence, but you're having bees.
Yeah, bees, they are tamed. You can tame them. They are tameable animals, insects. Because what happens is that bees fly. That's why we say flight pass. So if you have, for example, a small place and you gazette, you try to create a fence, whether it is like using papyrus thread or using anything to create the fence. The bees will fly above that fence. So because they are flying above that fence, it means they are not going to attack anybody in the neighborhood because they are flying away. And during the time you want to harvest them, when you puff the smoke using the smoke that we talked about, the bees sense danger and eat a lot of honey and become docile. So then you are able to work with them without any problem. But also, the bees can know, just like the way animals can know that this is my owner, I mean my boss. Yeah, when you have animals, they know.
Yes, animals do.
Yes, even the bees know.
Sure,
Yes,
insects.
yes, they will sense the smell, they will sense all those kind of things, the movement. That's why some people can as well put the bees in their house, and there is no problem. So,
Dixon.
yes,
Dixon.
yes. What the bees don't like is panicking. They don't like people who panic. If you know you panic a lot, then you may not keep bees. That's why when we are approaching them, we are gentle. They want you to be a gentle person. You must be a gentleman. So if you are somebody who is rough, you cannot deal with the bees. Bees want some level of gentility. So, but we always advise that at least let them be 100 meters away from the home because of children, but also make sure that you fence so that they can fly, as I have told you, but also put like a signpost to show that it is a danger and don't allow children to go there. Don't tease the animals. Some people want to tease on the poles where they have put the hive. They want again to tie the goat or something. Don't do that. But if you leave the bees in their own comfort zone, it's not a problem. Maybe when you are digging, bees like the soil so much. So if you are opening fresh soils, then like digging, the bees are likely to come and visit you. So that's why you don't need to dig near the bees. But also, if you want to do that, do it early in the morning or late in the evening. Because so then bees are still not so busy. But during the day, bees are now busy. You shouldn't, you can't say that because bees are social animals, social insects. Now you want to joke with them around the, say, midday or something like that. No, that's why even harvesting, it is either early morning or a bit in the evening when it is comfortable to work with them.
Well, still learning more about bees, and we want to see the role of bees in poverty alleviation and achieving the sustainable development goals. And I have Dixon here with me, who happens to be the executive director of the Uganda National Apiculture Development Organization. He talks bees, he rears bees, he's in the bee business. Now, of late, we have so much issues regarding climate change, and I want to look at that perspective. These insects, how can they help in problems or issues regarding to climate change, which is a very big challenge? Now that you've said it's not only in forests where we can have them, even in homes and close proximity to us.
Yes, you're very right. Actually, bees, beekeeping itself is a very big tool for helping in climate change adaptation and mitigation. If you go to northern Uganda, for example, today, from West Nile to Karamoja, if you go to every beekeeper, you will find that all the surviving shea trees in northern Uganda are with beekeepers. Because the beekeepers use shea trees, for example, as a shade where they site their apiaries, but also bees like shea. That's why when you come, you find a lot of shea honey, like in World of Bees. Shea honey is something that is taken all the time. In fact, we have a very big market for shea honey. So for people in northern Uganda, that's why the honey now in northern Uganda, the prices are going very high because of shea trees. So if you go to Karamoja, you will find that the surviving acacia trees are with beekeepers. So that tells you that beekeeping alone is a tool for conservation. But also, bees are not necessarily affected a lot by drought. Just imagine, like this prolonged drought now with climate change in Uganda. Usually you find that somebody who has planted their crops, they are going to have almost nothing. But with bees, you are always sure you cannot completely fail to get something, because bees have the ability to move. And in fact, for them, during dry season, most flowers, forest trees tend to flower. And that is when the bees now are busy collecting the nectar and pollen. So then you are able to harvest. So that also becomes like a very good alternative for income generation, for rural livelihoods, you know. So also, every beekeeper understands that for you to be able to have a bee, to keep bees, you need a tree. That's why most of our beekeepers are the ones planting trees. They are the ones planting these macadamia now. They are the ones planting these cashew. They are the ones planting mangoes. They are the ones planting citrus. And so that is the most important thing. And also, every beekeeper has a very good understanding that you do not need to spray. Nowadays, people, I don't know what has happened, but everybody thinks they need to spray, even when it is not necessary. And they are using a lot of agrochemicals, actually misusing agrochemicals. And this is something that I want to give a warning, actually, to whoever is promoting use of agrochemicals. While it may not be inevitable, but in some cases, we don't need them. I have seen people using herbicides, for example, in a small piece of banana, in a small piece of coffee, in a small piece, everything. And I wonder where the science went, because people should know that the environment has capacity to self-regulate. They are always predators. So if you just think of spraying all the time, then you're going to kill even beneficial insects that you need for pollination, especially the bees. And the beekeepers are the ones with that knowledge that don't spray. And that is something very important within now climate change arena, that if people continue to spray, first of all, there are even more diseases now coming up because of such. So, but with beekeeping, the beekeeper knows that you're not supposed to spray. And if you spray, of course, ultimately the bees die. So that's why it becomes also a very important tool. But also look at biodiversity conservation. Bees are very good for biodiversity conservation. And that's why elsewhere in the world, the beekeepers are paid actually to keep bees, because just they pay you to keep bees because they understand that kind of biodiversity conservation. Also look at why are people opening a lot of land every day. People are opening a lot of land because they want to increase productivity per acreage. But they forget that without bees, you are going to keep opening. Just imagine that you have like, you are keeping animals, you have cows, and these cows, you're feeding them, but there is no bull and there is no artificial insemination. So in the case of crop production, the artificial insemination would be for you to go and pick the pollen grain and bring it to another crop, which you are not going to do. Now, for the case of the bull now, is the bee to help you do that work. So now that tells you that even if you improve all agronomic practices and open a lot of land for agriculture, cut all these trees, that because you want to increase production, you're not going to achieve that unless you are able to put bees to help in the pollinating those crops. So that tells you that with the bees, you don't need to open a lot of land because you are sure of increased productivity per acreage. So that's why it becomes also a very good tool for climate change mitigation.
Well explained. I like the fact that these bees will increase on productivity of your crops. Many times people have these chemicals that really just chase away the bees and sometimes even kill these bees. Then they will complain of low harvest. Yet the pollinator was destroyed. On that note, let me go for a short break. I'll return shortly. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Behind me is the girls' dormitory called Grace at King's College Buddo. The building has been housing 124 students and all of...
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Ocho mwami musoke njose nekusanga
ate kiki
munange anti gwamanya okunyinyonyola ebintu by'emisolo bino nembitegeera
ate kiki leero
mbadde ku dduuka nempulira nga abakyala bagamba mbu tulina okwewandiisa mu nkola ya
ifris tukikolanga
ate
kituufu nnyo
mbadde sikimanyi nakyo
eyo yenkola egenda okutuyamba okulwaninga bizinesi zaffe mu ngeri ya digito
etya
oba olina okuwandiisa bizinesi yo mu ifris osobola okumanya omuwendo gw'ebintu by'olina mu bizinesi yo enfulumya n'ennyingiza mu bizinesi yo awo URA esobola okukola omulimu gwayo ogw'emisolo obulungi
nedda mwami musoke kyesitegeera ifris eyingira etya mu bizinesi yange
kakati enkola ne ya ifris eyingiza bizinesi yo mu sisitemu ya URA kubanga tekyali kya buntu bulamu okugerekera omusolo ogutali mutuufu abateebereza buteebereza
ekyo kituufu ddala bannange ekyo kituufu kubanga mazima obadde omusolo gubadde gwapaala bupaazi ng'ogenda n'osasula omusolo gw'otomanyiko omutwe n'amagulu kwegamba bambi nga tekiriiyo
olaba kakati ate n'ekirala ifris eyamba okukuuma ebiwandiiko bya bizinesi yo kuba biyinza okubulako biyinza okukwata omuliro naye kati wano ifris biba biri digitalized
bannange nekola ntya okwewandiisa
kyangu nnyo waludde dda okwewandiisa mu nkola ya ifris genda ku kibanja kya URA www.ura.go.ug awo olondeko e-invoicing awo no ogoberere endagiriro URA tukulaakulanyize wamu Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break and thank you for being with us on UBC TV. We are still looking at beekeeping in this country when we refer to commercial agriculture as the dream, to see that we move, there are about 60% that are still in subsistence agriculture to commercial agriculture. And one of the avenues to achieve this is through beekeeping. Now I'm still with the Executive Director of the Uganda National Apiculture Development Organization, Dixon, with whom we are still discussing more regarding beekeeping. Now, what does one require to start beekeeping?
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, that question, I think I interact with it every day. People call me asking, I want to start beekeeping, what do I need? You know, they think it is like these other agriculture enterprises where you need a lot of money, you need to first go to the bank and borrow or things like that. No. Number one that you need in beekeeping is passion. You must have the passion that you really want to do beekeeping. Number two, you need some level of training. which actually the Uganda National Apiculture Development Organization, TUNADO, does. We offer all the training services in beekeeping, right from apiary siting. How do you select your apiary, where you want to put your apiary? That is very important. Because as we said, that depending on whether you are in a densely populated place or not, still we need to select a corner where people are not going to disturb your bees all the time. Bees are peaceful animals. They don't want noise. So you have to select a corner and we fence it. You get it? So that is on apiary selection. Also see, in your neighborhood, where would the bee get the food from? Because the longer the distance the bee moves, the less the food they are going to collect, and therefore the less the honey they are going to give you. Yes. So even also you look at the water source. Where are they going to get the water from? In cases where they are not going to, if the water source is far, then you need to bring like maybe a container and put some sticks or stones so that the bees can land. I told you bees fly, so they land also. So that they can land and also pick that water, because it's also a good component for them in making the bee products. So, so number one is look at your area and get that kind of knowledge on how to select the apiary site. Number two is to understand your environment. That when do plants flower here? Because you should know that when plants flower is when the bees are able to go and collect nectar. That's why we normally encourage our beekeepers to plant like coriander, these things that can flower continuously all the time. Like eucalyptus, for example, so flowers continuously. So once you have that science to know when the plants around you are flowering, then you are able to keep the bees and to understand when to harvest. Because usually harvesting starts at the beginning of the rainy season. If the season is going to start, then you know that yes, now we need to, or at the end of the dry season or at the beginning. So you need to know that kind of science on when to harvest, which science we give you. Number two, you need to know how do you approach, for example, the hive if you want to check whether there is honey. Because sometimes the bees are very tricky. They are brand that people also want to steal their products. So sometimes they have honey during the season, the time you don't expect them. That's why you have to do what we call hive inspection. So, and that one you only need to learn on how you can do that. And have a bee suit. That's why we ensure that beekeepers can access bee suits all over the country. Because that was also something we had to do for the youths. Youths who are complaining that they don't have a job. We trained 1,000 youths all over the country who are busy making these bee suits, that you can have a bee suit and you're able to approach the hive. We have also trained 3,000 youths who are able to make hives. So hives are all over. You can easily, if you don't want to do it yourself, because most of us Ugandans don't want to do things ourselves, but it is possible. You can do it yourself. If you don't want to do it yourself, then still we are saying you can have access to these hives because we have trained people to do them. And depending on which hive you want, it will range from 30,000 to 250,000. So, and you need, to make business sense, you need about 25 hives. Because then you are sure that we don't encourage people to have, people always have greed. When they find the honey there, they want to harvest everything and every hive. And then they leave nothing for the bees. So usually we encourage them to leave 5 hives, non-harvested. But once they get honey, they already seeing money. So to leave the 5 is always very difficult. And the bees start absconding. So that is also when they open the hive and find the honey, they want to remove everything. Usually you have to leave like 2 combs full of honey, where the bees can also start building other combs. So keeping bees is not something very hard. You need training. That's why I said you need knowledge on how to do apiary selection. You need some knowledge on your environment when things are flowering. you need to know when to harvest, and you need to know how to harvest actually, and how also to keep the harvested honey in tight buckets and things like that. So training is a must for every beekeeper. At least you need some basic training on how to keep the bees. Later on, the advanced trainings, when you're already a beekeeper, we can train you on how to multiply your colonies. If you have 2 colonies today, tomorrow you can have 20 colonies because of colony manipulation. You can easily divide the colonies, especially if you are using Ugandan top bar hives. If you are using the top bar hives, you are able to manipulate the colonies, and you are able to create as many as you can. So that is something that we train now advanced people in beekeeping. So that is something that you need. In fact, for those who want to use the money only, 1 million is enough for you to start a beekeeping project for yourself and start earning instantly. But for those of you who are not lazy and want to use your own hands, something like 100,000 is enough. And that 100,000 would be used to access training. Because the rest of the things you can do them yourself.
And you're not going to buy bees?
Yes. The bees are not treated like animals. You're not going to buy medicine that you're going to treat animals.
Or buy them like you go and buy
no.
chicken from the brooder.
That you need the fertilizer, that you need... No.
I just put my hives and they automatically...
Yes. All you need is to thrash around so that the pests do not move up. All you need is to check. All you need is to bait. Bait is like burning, for example, beeswax in the hive so that it attracts the bees. Or like lemongrass or things like that. So that's why I say the training. You only need money for training.
Okay, now all you've said sounds rosy. What are some of the challenges?
Okay, there are some challenges like any other business, but one of the biggest challenges is access to extension services, because most people would want to start this beekeeping, but where do you go in the district? Because some of the districts don't have district entomology officers. At the sub-county, there are no trained personnel that can help in beekeeping, giving this information. People want that information. People want access to, for example, inputs. The bee suit. Where do you get a bee suit from? Where do you get a hive from if you want to buy a hive, for example? If you want to buy a smoker, where do you get it from? If you want to buy airtight bucket, where do you get it from? So extension services remains one of the biggest challenge of beekeeping in Uganda. Also, we have a challenge of, usually if you go back to the villages, you'll find there is 1 beekeeper or 2 or 3 or 4. So if you are few, it means also the quantities that you are harvesting are small. So then marketing such a small quantities is always a challenge, because nobody is going to come to your area to pick only 1 kilogram. That's why we encourage beekeepers that in your area don't be around, don't be selfish. In the bees we are not selfish. Try to have an outgrower scheme around you so that you harvest significant quantities that are going to have access to market. That's why we have like rural transformation centers. And again, agrochemical use, misuse of agrochemicals. That is one of biggest challenges that we are facing. People apply chemicals like there is no tomorrow. It's like nowadays, people, if they don't spray, for example, in banana plantations, then they are not going. And yet they don't know that actually you need even weed in your banana plantation. Because once you uproot, and that weed will decompose and make manure for you. You see, which you also need. But when you spray, you kill the bees that are foraging.
Actually, today, many people do not use the hoe. They simply use chemicals to to weed, to do what, and they call it cheaper.
Which
Where
is-
I come from, we use are saying, umpaka sowala isi bomba. Just get some chemicals and then you come, after days you plant and you're done.
Which
Instead
is-
of hiring people to dig and spending so much.
Which is
Just
laziness.
go to container village and you're done.
Which is laziness. With my agriculture background, today I have not come to talk about that.
Yes.
But what I know is that every time you spray the soil, you kill some organic matter that is there, and you make the soil translucent, and there is no humus, that the soil therefore can no longer hold water. That's why people are going to use a lot of fertilizer, they are going to use a lot of agrochemicals, and eventually agriculture will not be profitable. So I encourage smallholder farmers, forget about spraying, just intercrop and use crop rotation and have your bees around. So that is what I would encourage people to do. So the use of agrochemical is affecting our business. And remember, every time you spray, you are killing the bee, but you are killing the pollinator that would otherwise pollinate your crops. So that is also another big challenge. Another challenge, of course, we have is that the apiculture does not have a policy as a whole. So that means that for us, beekeepers, on the cake of government, it is small cake that we get. Because if there is no policy, it means that we don't have a guideline. It means that they cannot allocate a budget. That's why we don't have district entomologists. That's why at sub-counties we don't have the extension officers. Even if you go to the entire Ministry of Agriculture, there are about 4 people for the entire department of apiculture, actually entomology. And we share them with these other insects, destructive insects. So that makes it very, very complicated to work in a sector without a policy, a guideline, a framework. It makes our work very hard because then the allocation for our sector becomes very low, but also the level of seriousness for on the government side to be able to say, no, don't do this, becomes very hard. So that is also another issue. And another issue we are facing, the challenge that people are cutting trees without planting. Why do you keep cutting the tree when you have never planted one? So people are cutting the trees left and right. And what are they looking for? Just imagine that somebody cuts a shea tree that has been there for 30 years and earns, say, 30,000 out of the charcoal they are burning. Yet that one shea tree of 30 years old, we are very sure that it can make for you 10 kilograms of honey every season. And you are assured of 100,000. So you wonder what's wrong with us Ugandans. You cut a tree to earn 30,000 and you forget it, and yet the same tree, you would earn 100,000 every season, 2 seasons, that's 200,000, year in, year out. So every time people cut trees, they are destructing the habitat for the bees. So deforestation is one of the biggest issues that we have. That's why we are encouraging all our beekeepers to go and plant high-value tree crops. Plant coffee, plant macadamia, plant cashew, plant citrus, plant fruits. Because these fruits, in an agroforestry way, we are not encouraging monoculture. You know, monoculture is where people plant like acreage and acreage of only one crop. Because once you plant acreage and acreage of one crop, diseases, pests are too much, and therefore you are forced to spray. But when you plant a mango here, you plant coffee here, plant banana here, put bees there, then the pest for coffee is not the pest for banana. So when the pest for coffee is jumping to another one, they will find it is banana. So it will not cross from banana to another coffee that you have planted there in that intercropping system. So that intercropping system will allow the bees to survive even when people are busy cutting the trees. And then you are able also to harvest from those trees. You harvest the fruit, you sell. You harvest the nut, you sell. Because we understand that everybody planting trees, they are planting it for commercial what? Purposes. If you are not the government, you are planting the tree for commercial purposes, in most cases, or shade. But now this time around we are saying, plant the trees that you are going to harvest continuously. You only harvest what we call non-timber forest products, fruits, leaves, and then you leave the tree to grow, to keep growing. So as the tree grows, it keeps increasing the money from the hive. Because when the tree grows, then it flowers a lot, and the bees pick the nectar and the pollen and increase the money they are making in the hive. So you will be killing 2 birds, actually 10 birds with 1 stone. First of all, the bees are helping you to increase productivity of your crops, more money. They are getting more nectar and pollen, more money for you from the bees. So it's like an interdependent system. That's why we are encouraging people to do agroforestry. Because when they do beekeeping in an agroforestry way, we are now sure that they will harvest at different times. If today you are not harvesting cashew or coffee, tomorrow you are harvesting honey or beeswax or bee venom or propolis. So that is something that we are trying to tell our people, because we are sure that people are cutting trees left and right. So us, the beekeepers, we must plant. But also we are telling government and whoever is cutting trees, just to know that you are earning this money in the shortest possible time, but it is not sustainable.
I love that. It's not sustainable. Time is not so much on our side, but I'll just give you a minute to have your final remark to our viewers regarding beekeeping.
First of all, of course, time is always not there, but at least in August, from 23rd to 27th, I will be at Akamwes every day explaining to people for free on how they can come and keep beekeeping. I have organized experts all over the world. They will come for free for all Ugandans. Come at Akamwes in August 23rd, 27th. We shall be explaining everything to you. Come with all questions that you want. You'll find a platform there. You don't need to book anything. We shall be there from morning to evening. And also, in all our centers, if you come at World of Bees, wherever you see it, ask for information. It is for free. No Ugandan should be cheated not to get information, start beekeeping, and come out of poverty. If you come to NADO centers, information is for free. So whenever you see World of Bees, just enter. Like, for example, it is at Kingdom, it is at Akamwes, it is at Chira House. Enter there, ask for information. Information is for free.
Okay. Thank you, Dixon, who happens to be the Executive Director of the National Apiculture Development Organization, for your time. And of course, Ugandans, this is something worth investing. See you tomorrow, God willing, for God and my country. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala.